everybody. So this is going to be the beginning of a series in which I'm going to take a new character, an alpha clone character, and take that character through some of the basics at the beginning of the game so that if you're a new player, you can follow along, do what I'm doing, and learn some of the fundamentals about the game so that you can get comfortable with the game. This, if you haven't seen one before, is the hangar. You are going to be looking at this a lot, and this is where your ships will appear. If you're a new player, hopefully you have come through, been thrown into the initial little baby tutorial, which starts you off in space and you had to blow some stuff up that wasn't shooting back at you, and then you fly back to a hangar, much like this one. The look of the hangar will depend on which race you choose. So the character that I have decided to go with, he is admittedly not a completely brand new character. He's a couple of weeks old. I made him a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't done anything with him. He is brand new. The only ISK that he's got has been from the gifts that you get, which I'm going to talk about a little bit shortly. And other than that, he hasn't left the station, but I have done some skill training, so he will be slightly ahead of a completely new character on skills, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I've been training, and so that you can start down that track. So he's pretty much a brand new character. I'm going to go out and do all the new character stuff with him. I decided to choose a Minmatar character, and the reason why I did that is simply because I've never played with a Minmatar character before, and I wanted to give one a try. I particularly wanted to try using projectile turrets, which I've not used before, and having a play around with some of the quite cool looking Minmatar ships. So it's far more of just an aesthetic choice that I've gone for than anything else. It's not because Minmatar are better, they are certainly not. You can choose, in fact, whatever race you want. It doesn't really matter which you go for. I would suggest just look at some of the ships and choose a race that you like the look of the ships more than anything else, unless you particularly like the backstory of a particular race. If you've had a look at some of those sorts of things, then you can choose it based on that. The only real difference that you will have in the race that you choose, other than the ships that you will immediately have access to, are just some of the fundamental skills that you will get. So a Minmatar character, for example, will have some small projectile turret skill to start with, whereas if I was choosing a Galente character, they would instead have small hybrid turret. If I was choosing an Amar character, they would have small energy turret to start with. So there's a couple of little differences in there. If you particularly want to blat things with lasers, then maybe choose an Amar character. If you like firing missiles at things, probably choose a Caldari character. Although you can skill up into anything that you want from the beginning. There's a little bit of limitation in alpha in terms of an alpha clone will max out at 5 million skill points. So beyond there, you won't be able to put anything into your training queue, or it won't train. You can put stuff in there, but it'll sit there and it won't let you continue to train those skills. So there's some limitations, but there's quite a lot of leeway, and to be honest, starting the game now is just incredible. When I compare this character right here to my old original character, the stuff that you get given is just unbelievable. There are a whole bunch of gifts that you can get given. You can see them down here. So there's these daily login campaigns which pop up, and you get given gifts. For the first 15 days you get a free gift, and you get things like skill books, ships. There's a frigate and a destroyer that you get. Plus you get given a blueprint for a cruiser. It's pretty damn good stuff that you get given for free. And you can see that you also accumulate free skill points in the form of what are called skill injectors. These are skill points that you can just use instantaneously. Now, one of the huge advantages, the biggest advantage I would say, of starting a character right now is that as long as you get a referral from someone else, and I will leave a referral link underneath this video, you get 1,000,000 free skill points. Now that is an insane amount of skill points because, as I mentioned, alpha characters max out at 5,000,000 skill points. And you get given a free 1,000,000 skill points in the form of skill injectors here, which you can just apply directly to skills. Now, if you wanted to train up really fast, you could apply them straight away, but I am playing the long game, and so what I'm going to do is train this character up until he maxes out his training queue and can no longer train skills, and then I'll use these 1,000,000 skill points, which will have gone up a bit because, as you saw from the campaigns, I'm on the path to getting another 50,000 skill points. And from the first 15-day campaign, here's the items that I've accumulated already. I've already got 75,000 more skill points that I can use. So there's just no better time to start playing Eve than right now. You just get so much great free stuff, which you never used to get when I first started my character originally a few years back. You just didn't get this stuff. So that's an awesome reason to start playing Eve. So to start with, I'm just going to do a little bit of setup. There is some setup that needs to be done in Eve just to get things operating the way that you like it before you get into the game proper. So I'm going to adjust some windows around and some spaces. So this is your chat window that's popped up here. I like to minimize the talkie space. This is where you type stuff in. If you wanted to type anything, if you wanted to say anything into chat, and you see that you've got three. I've got a rookie help that's popped up here. I've got Corp, and that is my default NPC Corp. Unfortunately, you have to adjust these for every single one of these, which is kind of annoying. And then local, which is going to be important. So the rookie help, I am just going to close that. I don't want that tab. If I wanted to get to it again, I could. I could hunt it down and find it, but I'm really only interested in the local is the main thing. Now you'll see here that I get a little portrait of everybody who's in here, and that's going to be a lot of people because there's 251 people in Corp logged in right now, and that's a lot of people. So what I like to do is go here and show the compact member list, which let's just bring that down a little bit, and I'm going to do the same for local compact member list. So I just want to quickly be able to see. I'm going to talk about local in some depth coming up shortly. For Corp, all you need to realize is that when you first start the game, you immediately get put into an NPC corporation, and you stay there until you move into another corporation. So mine is the Republic Military School, and I can see all the details that pop up here for that. So the attributes, you can see that friendly fire is illegal, not allowed to shoot anybody who's in this corp, which is a pretty standard one. And I have an 11% tax rate. That's an important factor, and if I decided that I want to start running missions, because I get taxed on mission income, I would probably want to leave this corp and join a player corp that had a lower tax rate or provided me some other benefits. I'm going to talk about corporations in some depth a little later on. It's not really that important right now. It's not the first thing that I would do jumping into another corporation. I would want to get a bit of a feel for the game first before I started doing that. That's just me personally. Some people love to just jump into a corp. If that's you, fine, go for it. That's completely your decision. I've done a little bit of basic screen setup. There's a couple of other things that I could do as well, and that really has to do with the sidebar over here and what appears on it. Completely personal preference. I believe I've already dragged some stuff in here because I like to have, and you can just drag these around in here, I like to have certain things quickly accessible from the side. So we've got here, just to run through some things, we've got the agency. This is a fairly new feature, or it is for me anyway, which allows you to quickly go to things. Importantly, it's got tutorials in here, but we can quickly go to missions, encounters, exploration, and that sort of thing as we want. There's your Eve mail for communications. There's your inventory, which you'll be accessing heaps. There's your wallet, very, very important. One of the big aims of the game is to make that big and fat. Then you have your personal assets, which is really important when we start talking about inventory and assets. I will be talking about that. There's your regional market. There's your fitting window. I believe that doesn't appear by default, and just to show you, if I wanted to bring that in, I go to the Neocom menu, I go down to ship, and then there's the fitting window, and I just click and drag that over to here, and it brings it in to there. Speaking of that, I'm going to show you that with something else, because I like to have the ship tree over there. So I'm going to click and drag that down to there, and so now I've got the ship tree, which is this puppy here, which shows me all of the ships that I have access to. You can resize that with the scroll wheel, and alphas basically have access to everything that is inside of this window. So you start with, you have a capsule, which you probably haven't seen yet, that is sitting inside your Corvette. Mine is a Reaper. If you've chosen a different race, yours will be a different ship to this. They're all fundamentally pretty similar. Then we get into frigates. These are your basic ships that you're going to be starting out with here. Your more advanced frigates. Then we have destroyers, cruisers, your faction cruisers up here. Then we have, when we go into battle cruisers, the faction battle cruiser, then battleships, and the faction battleships, and alphas can also get access to shuttle and some haulers. And there is one other ship that alphas can get access to as well, which I'll talk about when we talk about mining. All these other big, massively expensive ships that you can see up here, you can't get until you reach Omega status. So that's the cutoff point, is the Omega point there. Any ships beyond that you cannot fly, but you can fly ships from a different race as long as you train up in, for example here, these are Caldari ships. As long as I train Caldari frigates, I can fly these ships and buy these ships, and then Caldari destroyers, I just have to train up for that. So that's the ship tree. We'll probably talk a bit more about that at a later stage. Down here we have the star map, which I don't really use the star map as a map. I know that sounds a little bit unusual. I find the star map a little bit kind of confusing and not easy to work with, and I work with a third-party map tool, which is, I think, a lot better. You can use this, it's fine. I mostly use it, in fact, well, that's out of control. I use it mostly as a search tool. If I want to go somewhere, I'll type that name in there and it creates a path, and then I can set that destination and go there. That's primarily what I use it for. There's help. I've don't think I've ever pressed that. And then you've got your chat channels, which you can open up, Corp Local, and there's a whole bunch of other chat channels that you can access in-game as well. And then of course the Neocom menu has everything in it, depending on what you might want to access. It's there. Some of these things you can drag over to the left onto your sidebar, just depending on what you want to appear on your sidebar. If you want corporations, let's drag the corporation icon over here so that I can, at a later stage, will explore some corporations. And you've got some utilities as well in here that can be very, very useful. And then some of these other things are just settings. If you want to go to settings, okay, so to access the preferences, press the escape key, and I have just figured out that if I press the escape key, it will actually stop my recording. It took me a little while to figure that out, but that was a pain in the ass. So I will not press the escape key, but that will give you access to the preferences and where you can adjust audio, video, settings and so on, and also log out of the game. Hey, so apologies for the abrupt ending of this video. It was dragging on a bit, so I decided to split this video into two, and the next part you can find in the next video on skill training. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by donating Plex in-game using your Plex Vault. If you are not able to give Plex, you can donate ISK. If you do donate, please make sure to flick me an Eve mail and make your donations to Exalted. That's EXZOLTED. Thanks.